Welcome back to the channel, folks. My name's Luke and this is Future Fiction Reviews, and today is my January wrap-up. How you doing, folks? I hope you have had a good January, a good reading month for the first month of 2025. Before I continue and tell you about all the books I read in January, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my recorded or live content. And I have plenty more live chats coming up this month, including my 2 rescheduled chats with Tori Tekken from Tori Talks and author Aaron M. Payne, which I had to reschedule in January. They are happening this month. So, what have I read during the month of January? Right, the first book I finished in January was actually a reread, and that is of The Final Empire, which is book 1 of the Mistborn era by Brandon Sanderson. I don't know what quite prompted me to give this a reread, but I just fancied it. You know, it was December when I started reading this, and I just, my plan was, and it was a silly plan because it was never going to happen, was to do a whole reread of the Cosmere, back to back. And after thinking about it, the idea really didn't appeal to me that much because it would just take up 3, maybe 4 months of my reading of 2025, and I want to be reading new and exciting books. I'm not much of a rereader, really, under normal circumstances, but I remember always loving the Mistborn era one. It was my gateway into, well, it was my gateway into re-entering the world of fantasy because, you know, I was a big fantasy reader when I was a teenager, and I was raised on Tolkien and kind of David Gemmell, but then I kind of fell out of reading for a while. But the Mistborn era one was the fantasy trilogy that really got me back to avidly reading fantasy once again. So I thought I'd just give it another reread, and I loved it. I really, really enjoyed rereading Mistborn Era 1. You know, it was just great to kind of get reacquainted with Kelsier and Vin and Ham, you know, all the crew who I love dearly. I think that, you know, I still think they're some of the best characters that Sanderson's ever written. I mean, I prefer the crew over to a lot of the characters in the Stormlight Archives. So, but I really, really enjoyed this. It's just great, entertaining, surface level fun for, you know, really good fantasy read. And so yeah, really enjoyed that. I will complete the trilogy, reread the trilogy, Well of Ascension and Hero of Ages. I will get to it at some point, but I'm not going to do back-to-back readings because I have far too many books on my TBR to go rereading an entire series like that. But I had fun with Mistborn, the first book, The Final Empire. I think it's just called Mistborn in America, but here in the UK it's called The Final Empire. The second book I read in January was an arc that was kindly given to me by author Adam Bassett, and that was called Animus Paradox, which is a cyberpunk thriller, crime thriller, and I really, really enjoyed this. I put a little review up on social media. Yeah, it's a cyberpunk novel. It's set in a kind of future Italy, which I found really, really unique because usually when you read a cyberpunk novel, a lot of them are usually based in America. They have a kind of neo-Japanese kind of style and culture, and this was just really exciting. It was really interesting to have a cyberpunk thriller set in Italy, you know, with a backdrop of kind of like Italian street gangs. In this, they're called the main gang we kind of deal with is called the Tigres. And our 2 main protagonists, who are a married couple who also happen to be private investigators, get really tangled up in this kind of gang warfare and this kind of newfangled tech. And it's a really, really good, it's not a very long book, really, really good fun read, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And that is out now in ebook, and I do believe the paperbacks are, you can pre-order your paperbacks now from Adam Bassett's website, or the Zon, wherever you want to pre-order them. The front cover is really, really pretty. Really like the kind of graphic look of it. So I'm definitely going to get a physical copy when they're out because I just really like the look of it. So yeah, if you like cyberpunk, go and give Adam Bassett's book a read. It's just a really nice fresh take on the cyberpunk genre, and you know our main there's some great characters in it. Our main protagonists are really good. It's just really interesting that they're a married couple and they work together, so there's a kind of added element, an added kind of a dimension to the story and the tensions within as well. So really good, so go and read that. The second book I read was by author and booktuber Tori Tekken, and this was Bloodstones. I do have a more fleshed out full review coming on the channel very soon, but to just give you my brief thoughts, this book was absolutely excellent. It was a really good read. It's a dark fantasy. It really deals with some kind of brutal, violent elements to the book. We primarily follow three kind of storylines, three characters. We follow Gerin, who is the son of a kind of government councillor, and he and his family, particularly his rather cold father, is caught up in the political machinations of trying to move the family into kind of like next in line to rule the kingdom. And then Gerin is taken, he's kidnapped, and he is basically put in this brutal training camp with lots of other young boys, and they are brutally trained to become these like super fighting warriors with a very strict kind of discipline, very strict kind of code of conduct. And that particular storyline is very dark. I mean, the whole story is very dark fantasy, but this is a very dark storyline. We also follow a second storyline kind of in a different part of the world, following Sindri and her sister Senna, who are part of like a tribe. And Sindri is someone who is controlled and driven and motivated by violence and revenge, and she is thrown into a situation where she has to try and start thinking and living differently to protect her people. So that's a brilliant storyline. And then the second then the third storyline kind of deals with Gerin's father and Gerin's other brother, and kind of them dealing with Gerin being kidnapped, and it's all like the politicking that goes on within the kingdom as well. And Tori has just written this incredible story. She's obviously poured her heart out into this. It's a great kind of mix of dark fantasy, coming of age, political kind of drama, tribal warfare. It's just so many brilliant elements that she has brought together with fantastic prose, by the way. Just brought it all together to make an incredible story. And this is, of course, book one in a trilogy, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think it's a trilogy. So I am very much looking forward to book two. And, you know, I've been in chats with Tori, and I will hopefully be receiving an arc for that, which I'm very honoured by. But I cannot wait to find out what happens next in these storylines. So yeah, I read Bloodstones. Absolutely amazing book. If you want a more in-depth review from me, that is coming soon on the channel. The third book I read was a science fiction novel, and it was a classic science fiction novel because 2025 I really want to kind of delve into the classic old kind of science fiction, and Arthur C. Clarke is as classic as they come. And I read Rendezvous with Rama, which is a kind of hard sci-fi first contact novel, and it's a really quick read. It was brilliant. It's just really good. I love the way it's very much based, as much as it can, based on real science. So things like space travel and gravity, and kind of working, how humans work around gravity or lack of, how they kind of work with the different environments that happen, because basically what happens is this huge long cylinder is discovered around near Jupiter or Saturn, I can't remember which, but it's basically, it turns out to be this kind of cylindrical world, this huge city, and this crew who are kind of already out in that kind of area are sent to investigate. And how Arthur C. Clarke kind of lays out the different investigations that they take, and the mysteries that keep on coming, and how they kind of use science to try and answer those questions. It is just a fascinating read, and if you like your sci-fi on the harder spectrum, then Rendezvous with Rama is definitely for you. I really enjoyed it, and I'll definitely be reading more Arthur C. Clarke during 2025, so stay posted for that one. And then the last book I read of January 2025 was actually a beta read for Rob J. Hayes, and it was for a novella called Blood Brothers Beyond, which is actually out now, with a very, very cool cover. This is set in his Mortal Techniques universe, and it's a brilliant, brilliant novel. It is, as you can tell, it's a short story. It's a short novella. It has a kind of concurrent theme of grief and how different people have different ways of navigating their way through that grief. It's also very, very funny. It's also, as you can expect, in Mortal Techniques, great action scenes, great bit of humour and pathos, and the kind of twist at the end of the story was very, very satisfying. Really, really satisfying. So yeah, I beta read for that. I'm also currently, I've just done another beta read for him, and I'm going to do another one as well, which is again for a novella and a short story. So I'm feel incredibly lucky to be part of his beta reading team. It's my first time kind of going into beta reading, so I'm kind of learning how to kind of look at stories from a kind of different perspective, looking at it from a bigger picture, just trying to see what works and what doesn't work from a reader's perspective, and also just kind of, you know, just giving him my my thoughts, my input, my opinions of what works for me, what doesn't work for me, you know, and he compiles all that together from all the different beta readers, and you know, might make tweaks here and there. So it's a really interesting process that I'm really, really happy to be a part of. So that's all the books I read in January. Let's have a look at a couple of books that I received. Firstly, at Christmas time, because I realise January's been and gone, and I haven't even done a book haul. But I'm going to do a little mini one here. So I got this beautiful, beautiful version of The Hobbit for Christmas. Lovely kind of sprayed edges. And as you expect with a Tolkien Special Editions, some absolutely gorgeous illustrations, some illustrations by Tolkien himself, which have been reprinted. A lovely kind of forward and stuff, and it just feels beautiful and heavy and lovely. So yes, that will complete, because I've now got special editions of Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, and a couple of the other books as well. So it's kind of completing my special edition hardback Tolkien library. The second book I bought for myself actually for Christmas is A Blast from the Past, but they have reproduced the original Dragonlance trilogy, which was Dragons of Autumn Twilight, Dragons of Winter Night, and Dragons of Spring Dawning, and they've published it in this beautiful 40th anniversary omnibus edition with this lovely gold raised print, and a forward by Joe Manganiello, I think they pronounce his name, who, if you are, you know, familiar with the D&D sphere, he's an American actor who is massively passionate about D&D. I think he's a games master himself. So it makes complete sense that he's done a forward for this book, because this is one of the keystones of my teenage reading years, and really, you know, as well as Tolkien, got me into fantasy, got me into D&D as well. So yeah, lovely to own this lovely edition. And lastly, I just want to show you, it's a trilogy that the Broken Binding on their sci-fi sub have currently been doing, and the third book came in the post this month, and that has completed this gorgeous special edition of the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy, which is The Three-Body Problem, and these are incredible, beautiful editions, lovely sprayed edges, gorgeous illustrations, inside and out. So that's the Three-Body Problem. Beautiful, beautiful cover art by Jeff Brown, who is just taking over the Broken Binding Special Edition sphere at the minute. That's the Dark Forest. Absolutely gorgeous. And what came through the post to complete the trilogy was Death's End. This came in today. This completes the trilogy. Absolutely flipping gorgeous. Beautiful illustrations. That's the naked cover. Lovely. So yeah, that is just I'm very, very happy to now have that as a complete trilogy, special edition. So that goes on the old special edition shelf that I have. So that's kind of a mini January book haul for you. What else can I update you on? The channel. So February, I have lots coming up. I've already had a couple of lives. I had a chat with Adam Bassett, which I mentioned earlier, who wrote the Animus Paradox. Had a really, really good chat with him. We kind of discussed cyberpunk, the genre, his book, his writing process, and also about a non-fiction book that he is working on at the minute about map making, which is sounded absolutely fascinating. So if you are interested in any of that, you can go back and watch the replay of that chat. I'm recording this on Sunday, so yesterday I had an incredible discussion with the one and only Dr. Philip Chase and AP Canavan, aka A Critical Dragon, two of the giants of the booktube world, and we had a fantastic discussion about why we love the fantasy genre, what it means to us, what it says to us. We had a kind of chat about narrative, what it is, what it means, the context of narrative. We got into discussions about AI, about adaptions, about objectivity and subjectivity. It was just a brilliant, brilliant hour and 45 minutes of just intellectually nourishing discussions. It really just gives me a passion, gives me hope of humanity when I can have discussions with anybody like that, you know, when we can kind of just come together and have a really, really good debate and discussion, and not this kind of polarizing passive aggressiveness that kind of pervades social media at the minute. It's you know, a lot of the time it's not a nice place to be. So just having those discussions in this sphere, in this environment, is really, really nourishing, really, really heartening. So if you want a really good hour and 45 minutes of good old discussion on storytelling and books, grab yourself a cup of tea or a glass of wine and sit back and watch the replay of that. It was one of the highlights of my booktubing career, if you will. Later this month, we've got my two reschedules lives, because January went a bit wrong. So Saturday 15th, I am talking to Tori Tekin, who is the author of Bloodstones and also runs the booktube channel Tori Talks. Really looking forward to having a chat with her. And then I'll be also talking to Aaron M. Payne, also known as Bibliotheory, who also has a booktube channel. We're just pinning down dates for that, but that will be hopefully at the end of February, and I will let you know about those dates as well. So that's a channel update. Lastly, I am about 11,000 words into my novella. I'm kind of approaching the meat of the story, which is also going to be the hardest part to write, probably because it's going to be the most personal part to write. So it's going to be tough. I've kind of done all the exciting actiony bits. Now we're getting into the kind of contemplative, thematic material that I kind of originally had for my novella. So I'm going to be tackling that during February. But January I wrote some really, really good exciting scenes, really happy with them for the initial first draft. So yeah, that's coming on really, really well. So I'll be hopefully getting together some alpha and beta readers for that once it's done. I'm aiming for about 18,000 words. I think like looking forward and looking at my little bullet point planning, that's kind of where I think the end of the story will get to, unless some scenes magically appear in my head, which it did the other day. I had no idea that I was going to do a spacewalk with my character, and now they're doing it, and it's going to be really dangerous, and I'm going to put him through hell again. So there you go. But yeah, that's the kind of writing update, and that's January in a wrapped up in a nice bow. So let's look forward to February. There'll be a February kind of TBR video coming out. TBR is such a loose term for me anymore, because I just read. I mean, apart from the arcs and beta reading I do, I'm very much a mood reader, so I pick up what I'm in the mood for. But I kind of do have a pool of TBR books that I've kind of carved out for this first quarter of 2025, so I'll pick from that. So I might do like quarterly TBRs rather than monthly TBRs. That'll probably work better, actually. I'm still kind of hashing out how, like, the scheduling of the channel, but I think, you know, 2 lives a month, apart from this month because there's 4 because of the rescheduling, but it'll be 2 lives a month, and then hopefully 2 episodes a week, one kind of topical video, one review video, something like that. I'll work it out. Yeah, I just want to get some consistency going with the channel, mainly because the algorithm will pick up the consistency rather than the hapdash way January's been a bit. So I want to get some consistency going, get picked up by the algorithm, hopefully get the channel to grow. So thank you guys for watching today. Keep reading, revel in the destruction of your TBR. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and happy reading.